Hello everyone, it's Josh. I'm doing my second video tonight and I'm going to be doing it on, I want to always hear what's going on in your life, but I want to first and foremost get some responses I've gotten from atheists. Now, I know that it is difficult to have a debate, a discussion. I don't like to even really debate. I like to have discussions. It is difficult to have these when both sides are very passionate and it feels like the arguments are dehumanizing the other. Excuse me, I'm going to put my gum in. My mouth gets dry if I talk for more than a couple minutes, so I need to have some gum and get ready for this whole thing. I really think that I am trying to figure out ways to have a discussion with more non-believers than atheists, but atheists who are not dug in to their position. Now, there are absolutely the same criticisms to be made by atheists of Christians or of any religion. You're dug into your position. And so I was having this discussion with a comment that was made to me earlier on one of my atheism videos, and they were saying that I'm just spitting out all the apologetic arguments that have been made over and over and over again. And I said, well, atheists spit out the same tired arguments that have been made over and over and over again. So you're kind of at an impasse. So what do you do? What do you do in that situation? You wait until there's more evidence, right? There's no way of proving either side. There's no way of proving, is there a God? Isn't there a God? There's no way of proving, was Jesus Christ real, or was he God incarnate, or was he a fictional story, is what a lot of atheists say. Well, some atheists say. Some say he was real and it was just a created story around his messianic prophecies. But you have to look at all the arguments from each side. And then when new evidence appears, then that is more evidence for one side or the other. And from what I've been watching, and I've watched countless debates, hundreds of debates, and I have listened to atheists, and I've listened to obviously Christians, and studied the Bible myself, and tried to learn all the arguments for and against God, for and against Christ. And what happens is there is a stalemate. There's a stalemate because one side has faith, the other side has their faith. They don't like the fact that I say atheists have faith, and I understand that is hurtful to some, maybe, but I don't understand why it is hurtful. If you are convinced there is no God, then that is a faith. That is a faith that there is no God, unless you're agnostic. If you're agnostic, then there is just indecision. But it is a faith, whether it is a religious faith or not, it is a truth statement. So that is your position if there is or isn't a God. And you have to look at all the new evidence that's come out. The only new evidence being presented is for God and for Christ, because we keep finding more original and early translated manuscripts of the Bible, the New Testament, and we keep finding more about DNA, which is even the top atheists agree now that It is an intelligent design, not the theory of evolution, not the evolutionary process. The creation of DNA is an intelligent design. Richard Dawkins, who is the top atheist most think of, said we might have been seeded, like they call it panspermia, seeded from an alien race, an intelligent race. But yet he still argues against God. So we were seeded by an intelligent race. Well, where did that race start from? Where was their origin? If our DNA is obviously made from intelligent design, then obviously we have to go to the race that seeded us, I guess, if you're just going to make up new fantastical tales, which it very well could be that we were seeded from an alien race. It very well could be. And that does still not take away from the fact that there is a God. In fact, that adds to the fact that there is God. It just moves it to another place, one that you can never know about, because unless the aliens come down and make themselves known, we would never know that. Let me get to some of the comments here. See a couple people in here. Thomas, Slay Queen. Thank you, Thomas. Hello, Pretty. Love the name. Hello there. How are you tonight, wherever you are? Might be day, might be night, depending on what part of the globe you're on. Where are you all from? How are you all doing? Is there anything in your life that you are happy about, struggling with? I always like to ask the question, what is your purpose in life? So what motivates you to go forward in life? What motivates you to get out of bed in the morning? I just love hearing different people's perspectives on this, and maybe haven't thought about it, but just any answer, whatever first comes to mind, maybe. But Dustin Wright, I believe in God. Amen, brother. Amen. I don't. You see, I got a I got a comment on some. I did a couple atheism videos recently, and I got a comment saying that the way I was talking about atheists was the reason why no atheists will talk to me, because I am dehumanizing them. And I said, I don't understand how I'm dehumanizing them. What I'm trying to do is the main point of my atheism or my apologetics argument, which means to kind of present the evidence for God, for Christ. My main point in doing this is to arm early Christians, young Christians, who just get verbally assaulted by atheists sometimes, because there are plenty of atheists who just want to see them deconvert or walk away from the faith, because they think that's another one to their ranks. And they just get a kick out of this. That's like their main goal in life. They have such a vendetta against Christianity, which, there's various reasons for this. I stated, I think it was last night in my live stream, that the main types of people who become atheists are either you were raised by an atheist family, or you were raised by a very strict Christian family. And I guess there's you were raised by a kind of lukewarm Christian family, but you got in with a group of friends or someone who got you on fire for Jesus, and you just went all out for Jesus, and then you realized, no, he's not real. All of it was a lie. And those are the main types of people who become atheists. Now, I'm not saying by any means that's all atheists. No, there are always exceptions to every rule, and that there are probably millions of atheists who don't fall into that category. But if you're an atheist, I would like to hear why. I would like to hear your arguments for why you're an atheist. If you want to share them. If not, you can just tell me how dumb I am. That's fine too. Zeus was the king of the gods. Is he really? You just asked me that last night, and I told you Zeus was mythology. If you want to compare Zeus to to Christ, it is not even close, brother. Or I guess you could be sister. I can't read your name because it's like a bunch of words upside down or a bunch of letters upside down. Zeus was mythology. He was written in mythology in mythological places. They would sometimes come down to a place on Earth and intermingle with people, but it is clear that the New Testament was not written as mythology. The disciples, the apostles who wrote the New Testament, who wrote the Gospels and the epistles, they said this was a firsthand account from firsthand accounts, plural, of Jesus Christ. You can't compare the two, not at all. And Christianity, it's a different debate on theism, the belief in God, an intelligent creator, and Jesus Christ, because they are two completely different arguments, completely different. Now, Jesus claiming he was God, obviously you would think they'd be the same, but no, they are different because they are, first, you have to decide for yourself. Look at the evidence. If you're smart, you will, and study the evidence for and against, and decide whether you believe in God or whether you reject God. And then if you do believe in God, then you have to find, do I look around for the best example of God in the different religions and the different faiths and philosophies? Or do I just try to create God in whatever is convenient for me or whatever pops into my head? I guess, a lot of people do that too. Okay, let's see. The name I can't pronounce. Deists are like Scientologists. They believe in evidence and logic. Jefferson is one of them. Jefferson was absolutely not a deist, and people say it all the time. Monticello.com, go to it, or it might be .org. Go to it. They clearly point out Jefferson was not a deist. He was not a Christian by today's standards by any means, but he was not a deist. It's possible that James Madison was a deist. He never said one way or another, but we believe his wife was. It's John Adams. I don't know, but John Adams and Thomas Jefferson both wrote that we should be a Christian nation, even though Jefferson is where they got the the separation from church and state when it's not even in the Constitution. We should be a Christian nation because the Christian morals are superior to all other morals. That we have to be a republic of morals, of shared morals, and if we are not, then we will not survive. And it looks like now that we have no shared morals, we are collapsing. Hey, Dapper Mouse, how you doing? It's been a while. Tame is the king of this world. Tame. Who's Tame? I'm not sure who Tame is, brother. Let's see. Name I can't pronounce. My name is upside down, but it is in English, so logically we both are correct on our sides. Okay. I'm sorry. I can barely read the words as it is. So let's see. Yeah. Can't get that, brother. Sorry. It's all bunched together. So if you want to spell it out right side up, that's cool. Or if not, that's cool too. Are you a girl or a dude? Read the Book of Mormon. The Book of Mormon is the most true book ever made. Oh, man. Okay. I mean, I can actually have arguments against the Book of Mormon, but I don't see why that it's not even really an argument. The Book of Mormon is modern, and it is controlled by one source. The Christianity is, yeah, it's not even. Yeah, this is. I know it's just a troll, so I'm not even going to get into it. Um, Bella Angelo, what if you're in a bad position in life and you just found God, but you're stuck in that bad position and it's a sin, but there's just no way to escape it without losing your family? I know there are many, many hard spots that we find ourselves in when we are, when many are early in their Christianity. So I would have to know more about what's going on, Bella, to kind of. Can you give me like a little bit more? Because I can tell you that I know so many born again Christians who find themselves in a maybe verbally abusive or even physically abusive relationship. I know many Christians who find themselves completely at odds with their family, like you're saying, because their family is just anti either their religion or their or faith all in general. That maybe they're atheists, so they just will not have anything to do with it. But as a Christian, and it's so hard to learn to do this when you are a young Christian, you have to understand that the Holy Spirit is guiding you in every single decision that you're making. You got into a bad spot already by leaning on your own understanding. So you have to start leaning on the Holy Spirit. And there are times when, you know, you pick your battles. You absolutely do. If you think that you're going to be just thrown into this amazing life where everything makes sense, then that's unfortunately not what what happens in Christianity. What happens when you are saved? You have to contend with all of the bad decisions you've made, or all of the bad decisions you've decided to stay in, or just sometimes situations that are out of your control that you're thrown into. You have to contend with that because it is all teaching you a lesson and you are learning from it. And, for example, I've heard of some Christians who are in like atheist families, and their families just got so upset when they finally found Christ, and when they finally surrendered their life to Christ, and they just mocked them and shamed them all the time, and they were asking me and other people whether they should just try to cut off their family completely, or deal with the mocking and shaming and all this stuff. And I told them, you have to deal with your problems all the time. You have to face your fears. You have to deal with things you don't want to do. In fact, the Apostle Paul writes, the things I love to do, I no longer do. The things I hate to do, I now do. And it's something that we are being led by a higher power now. We are not being led by just whatever we feel now, whatever we think is the best choice. We are literally following in the footsteps of Jesus Christ. And he tells us exactly what to do in every situation. But again, you have to be very knowledgeable, and you have to have a personal relationship that is strong enough where you understand where he's pulling you towards, the signs he's giving you to go in certain directions. Let me see if time is the king of the world. Time is, yeah, and time is a creation of God, but the king of this world, the Apostle Paul says, was Satan. The world is referred to in different ways. The man's world, so the material world, not the world, the creation, not when you go out in nature, but God's creation is absolutely corrupted by man, by sin, by darkness. We let this into our life, and I can go out to the most beautiful places around here and just see trash everywhere, and where man has just destroyed the earth. We pollute everything we touch, every place we go, and you see the evidence of this, and it's absolutely a major theme in the Bible and in life in general. Okay, him, most true book ever. Teshuva, great to see you back again. Twice in one day. Well, I guess it's a new day for me, but I'm not sure what time zone you're on. I know you've told me before, I think, but it's great to see you back. Bella Angelo, what is my max bench? Well, I'm disabled now, so my max bench is not much. Well, I probably still could get up, close to 350 if I tried, but I'm not going to chance straining my back for that. But my max bench was actually in high school, is when I stopped powerlifting, and I got up to 455 in high school. And then I just made a bunch of bad choices. I started thinking I'd rather just party than go play football in high school and college, and turned down a bunch of offers, and finally I spent a year partying. I realized, I made a mistake, and I went to Georgia Southern, and then I got down there and realized, nope, I was right. I just want to party. So I made some bad choices, but then after I got out of Georgia Southern, after 1 year, 2 semesters, I finally got my act together and got into the best shape of my life, and just became a personal trainer and working out all day. I felt good physically, and I felt confidence for the first time in my life, but it still didn't give me purpose in life. It didn't give me meaning. I just was happy to finally have girls notice me, and I was out of my. I never was I was a socially anxious person, but I was always outgoing because I was always drinking, so I was always able to talk to people and joke around with people. But when it came with dealing with girls, man, I would get so nervous, and I would never know what to say, and I'd look like a fool. And if I was in a relationship, it was just, I had a low self-worth, so I'd always revert back and think of myself as the kid nobody wanted to date. The I don't know how the low self-worth happened, because I never was unpopular or anything, but that's what we tell ourselves. These things we tell ourselves, how awful we are. How I know beautiful people who think they're ugly, and the mind, again, I believe it's spiritual attacks. The mind plays horrible tricks on us. Manipulations by the devil, if you want to call it that, or if not, then just call it low self-esteem, I guess, for no good reason. Good time. Uh, uh, no problem at all, Dapper Mouse. It's good to see you, though. Another blue wrench of power. I need you here. I haven't been getting as much trolling, but every now and then you get some pretty bad stuff. But yeah, don't time anybody out or block anybody who's just making fun of me. Just if they're attacking someone else in the chat, or if they're being, trying to be really sexually inappropriate or something, then definitely cut them off. Time for cut it off. But yeah, I love when people try to roast me, man. I think it's hilarious. Don't waste your breath. Amen. Oh, everything's worth talking about, brother. It's always. I really am concerned for young Christians. I really am, and not just because they don't have the knowledge yet to deal with atheists coming at them, trying to deconvert them, or Muslims or whoever trying to deconvert them. I think that it's such a fallen world that, I mean, you look at what, 50, we'll say 70 years ago, we were a world that still valued God and still held dear the moral values. And I'm not saying that that made us perfect. Absolutely not. There's never been a perfect time, but you had nothing to fall back on. Now you can get lost in the darkness, and there is an endless roads you can go down in search of truth and meaning that just lead you to destruction. With the internet and technology, man, it's just exploded. So that's why I really like to reach out to young Christians. And, it's just part of what I do. I really am just looking for anyone who's trying to strengthen their relationship with Christ, or anyone who is lost and in the same kind of hell that I was stuck in when I first started, or before I was saved. Uh, Ivan, my only fear of death is reincarnation. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people hate their lives so much they don't want to even think about coming back. I mean, and then if you're looking at the Hindu version of reincarnation, you're coming back as, you could come back as a bug if you're really just evil in life, or you could come back as a king, I guess. But really, to me, being a king would somehow be worse than being a bug in a lot of cases, because being a king is not what people think it is. Um, Heavy is the crown, as they say. Dapper Mouse, autocorrect. Oh, no, no problem, brother. I get it all the time. I was I used to fix gas pumps for this gas station called Sheets, and I was writing to the one of my managers and some of the actual higher up corporate employees, and I was just telling them what was going on at this store, because they kept smelling some weird odor in the back, and I was trying to write them, there is a smell of gas in the in the back room, and it changed it. I've never had it change it from gas to ass, but it changed it. There's a smell of ass in the back room, and the guy called me immediately, and he's like, "What are you doing, man? This went out to all the higher ups." And oh man, it was hilarious though, because they all got a kick out of it. Jay McCarthy, can you please preach barefoot? I am barefoot, but I'm not showing my feet again. Everybody kept asking me to show my feet, and I have no idea why you would want to see, when your look at my face is bad enough, why you'd want to see my feet. But I'm not, and plus, I don't know if anybody's like, yeah, it's a weird thing with the feet. But I do like to take my shoes off and go on hikes sometimes, and just feel the earth beneath my feet. But I don't do that as much anymore because my feet are so bad. I mean, I've got a bad back and a bad leg, and my foot is attached to the leg, obviously, so it's always in pain too. Name I can't pronounce. I'm 60% deist, like Thomas Jefferson, father of the Constitution. Again, not a deist. He was a theist. I observe things on a micro level before accepting it. What's the best ways to get out of something collectively? The best ways to get out of something collectively. What are you referring to? And again, that a deist is better than being an atheist, because at least you're acknowledging the fact that that information carrying genomes of DNA and things like this had to have come from an intelligent creator. There's just no other explanation. I guess one may pop up at some point, but we already know that to form an information carrying genome, first of all, we can't do it, but it takes such a complex chemical, so it's chemistry and biology, and it is got to be done in the most perfect conditions. and then it breaks down before it has to go through so many mutations to form a strand of DNA, and that strand of DNA will break down before the second strand is, or the second mutation is done, even if it somehow got a bolt of lightning into the right chemicals, and it just happened to, like the encyclopedia, I said that last night, the Encyclopedia Britannica just appearing out of nothing. A bolt of lightning comes down, and there is 1,000 copies of the Encyclopedia Britannica, the information in a DNA, one strand of simple DNA, the simplest one-celled organisms, over 1,000 copies. It is incredible how much information it holds. And that's just, it doesn't make sense in any way, shape, or form. But please, if you're an atheist and you feel strongly against that point, please make it make sense to me. Because if you can somehow make it make sense to me, then I will maybe start, ceding some of the point to you. But the something from nothing, the information from the intelligent matter from unintelligent matter, all these things, they literally don't make any sense. And again, all I've gotten is you should study, you should go to study more, you should learn more about DNA and their mutations. And again, I'm not saying anything about the mutations or evolutionary process. I am saying creation. How was life created? Intelligent life from non-intelligent life. That just does not ever make sense. When have you ever seen something that is complex that was not created? You don't. You see anything. You see a watch, you see a house, you see a meal, you see all these things, and it is always has a creator. I'm doing great, brother. Dapper Mouse, I'm doing wonderful. Thank you for asking. I am, my mother, we were worried about her for a while because she has, been very sick. She's paralyzed from a stroke from a couple years back, and she got a blood infection. So obviously that had everybody worried, and it did not look good. And they took her to the hospital to actually, she had got the infection from a surgery she just had to have. And they took her to the hospital to drain the infected area. But they found when they got her there that the antibiotics were finally working. So they were able to send her back to her nursing home. And that was really the only really good news I've gotten in a long time. So I was sorely needed for sure. Zealous Blake, how you doing, brother? Let's see. Blood is life. Tribes don't pollute. Only modern ways of living do. I disagree completely. You have, okay. So it's the same thing about how Native Americans were, protected the animals so much and were so great to the land and all these things. And first of all, they weren't very advanced technologically, so that was one of the reasons why they didn't pollute a lot. But as far as taking care of the animals and always using all the parts of the animals, there were tribes that used to run buffalo off a cliff, like a herd of buffalo off a cliff, just take a couple, whatever they needed from a couple of the buffalo, and all the other carcasses would just lay there rotting. I mean, it wasn't just the white man that came in that killed all the buffalo and destroyed all the animals. No, absolutely, there were more white people coming in, more Europeans, so it happened more often. But we always, from the beginning of time, and obviously with technology, it's much worse because now we have factories and stuff polluting and all these things. But yeah, I mean, unfortunately, unless you're going to live like the Amish or live a really a homesteader lifestyle, a lot of homesteaders I know have solar panels and things like this, and They're like, look, we're off the grid and we're living off the land, and yes, you are, and that's great. But don't act like that solar panel didn't have to be, have child slaves going down and getting the cobalt and the strip mining for gold and for all the materials needed, the petroleum needed to make it, and the petroleum needed to ship it to where you are, and all of the things that go in to living in the modern society, unless you are completely cut off from it, because even Amish people have to intermingle in modern society. I've heard of Amish people actually watching my channel, and God bless, and hello if you're Amish, hello out there. But every single buddy except for the cut off tribes, I guess, is susceptible to it, and they have their own technology. So it's the work of man all around. Let's see, 455. It's triple most people's weight. Uh, oh yeah, I was really strong for sure, and I was so proud of myself because that was one of my best talent. I'm strong, and I was a good football player, and I just really I didn't have any desire to. I love football now, and I love it. I've loved it for decades. Even right after I left college, I instantly regretted not playing football because I did have the strength, but it really, really, I just wasted so much talent with it. I really did. Um, how how did I get injured, Bella? I it was an injury that happened over a long period of time. My disc got compressed. The discs in your back, are like the little spacers between your spine. If you don't know, um, the bottom two layers of discs, like the L5 to S1, like right above your tailbone or right on your tailbone, they got compressed so badly from just working out, from playing sports. And then the thing the doctor told me was the worst thing that happened to it was I used to drive a lot because I said I was kind of like a manager and a technician for this gas station, that's on the East Coast, Sheets. And I would drive sometimes 500-600 miles a day, and I would keep my wallet in my back pocket. And that wallet, the doctor told me he gets it a lot. It's one of the biggest problems he saw for back problems. It just curved your spine just a little bit, and it put that pressure on there. So that's why I only got the compacted more on the right side of my spine. And when he was trying to, I had to get a spinal fusion where they put a rod in between the two levels of the spine instead of take the disc completely out. They have to still dig out all the stuff to free the nerves and everything up, um, from the compacted disc. And it was so packed in there, and there was arthritis and everything already. And he was digging in there, and it nicked the sciatic nerve when he was down there digging in there. Or if it wouldn't have done that, I probably would have been fine to go back to work and to resume my life as I was living it. And it just wasn't meant to be. I woke up, I couldn't feel my right thigh at all. And that really, the doctor looked worried when I told him that. And then he told me what had happened. And the next day, I was wishing I could not feel my right thigh because it hurt so bad. And it's always like an evolving pain. It's really weird. The only way I describe it all the time is in the way, I guess the best way to describe it is like if you slam your thumb in a car door, and it just goes through all these sharp pains, numb pains, dull, throbbing, achy. And really, you think about that, but it's in the largest nerve in your entire body, and it's constant. So I can lay on my recliner sometimes and get it to where it's not as much pain, but if I move at all, which I have to, when I'm in a position for too long, it's just unbearable sometimes. But I'm completely, even though I am in pain, I promise you, I have not suffered once since I've been saved 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago to the date, on November 18th, 2022. Everything has been, even though I've gone through the pain, the tragedies, the traumas, and everything. I've had peace, I've had love, and it's just been like God is comforting me through every single trauma I go through. Teshuva, Texas, it's 11:38. All right. Texas, love Texas. Uh, Chama. I'm not sure what that means, brother. Let's see here. Bella, is drinking alcohol a sin or getting drunk is a sin? Like, is it okay to have a couple drinks or sips, just zero alcohol? Drink. Jesus made water into wine. There is absolutely nothing with drinking alcohol unless you are the type of person who can't just have a couple sips or just one drink or just two drinks at most. If you're going to keep on going and you have an addictive personality, you have to know this. And if you tend to gravitate towards that, let's say you're having a really hard day, so you just want to come home and just break into that bottle of wine, or have pound a couple beers or a couple whiskeys. That is when it starts to get dangerous, because even if you aren't an alcoholic and even if it's not a problem, when you have a larger problem in life, you will run to that alcohol most likely. And so that is where you have to watch. So it really just depends on the type of person you are. And you have to, I'm not sure if it's you or your family who has the drinking problems, because if you're living in a family of alcoholics, which I'm very familiar with, I have plenty of alcoholics in my family, then it is just going to be nonstop chaos. I mean, you can try to help them find meaning in life so they won't have to rely on being drunk all the time to get by, just, with all the stuff going on in their life, just turning to that booze. But unless somebody has the desire to stop, you can lead a horse to the water, but you can't make them drink, unfortunately. Hey Jay, how you doing? Jay McCarthy. Blood is life. Devil whispers. Yeah, the devil whispers in our ear all the time. It was the joke in the cartoons how you have the little angel on your shoulder and the little devil, but really, it's almost what it's really like in real life. Only the devil has a loudspeaker while the angel is only going to be heard if you let him be heard. So it's nonstop manipulations. And just like with the alcohol, I always said that when you drink and when you do drugs to escape and to get wasted, not for, I have a drink or two with a friend every now and then, or I take a medication if I'm just out of surgery for pain, or use some medical cannabis or something, which I do. Just full disclosure, I have to a very low dose of medical cannabis because it's the healthiest thing to do. And I also use kratom, which I recommend to anyone who has horrible pain and they're trying to put you on opiates. Please look at kratom and try kratom. It was a lifesaver. It really was. But those are the things, when you do them, you're signing a deal with the devil. And if you've ever heard the phrase, the devil is in the details, that's like the fine print that you never read in something you sign. It is always in the details. The devil is always there because, yeah, you're going to escape your misery for a short period of time every time you take that pill or drink. But what's happening is the fine print is saying, you're going to have to use more and more to get the same effects. And eventually the effects won't even be there at all. Eventually you'll just be doing it because your body requires it. And then you are addicted. And then it is a spiral into hell. And all of the everyone I know, who a lot of my friends ended up as either drug addicts, some of them unfortunately aren't with us anymore, or alcoholics, and it's just ruined their lives. It's just taken over their lives. And you don't think about that when you're young. You're just like, everybody's doing this. And I'm going out and just getting wasted. I thought it was just the way of life. I thought it was great because it got me out of my anxiety, my shyness. And I was like, this is the best. And I'm actually built my identity out of being drunk or high or just being a party animal. Someone who was always having a good time that people could call on. If you need somebody to go hang out with, I'll be there. And that is not only unhealthy, but it is exhausting, and it is such a lack of meaning and will just corrode every part of your life. It really will. I'm not sure what chama means, but if you say so. Aspen, how you doing? I got more blue wrenches of power in here. Great to see you again. Yes, Toshiba, that's true. I will definitely give you a wrench. Let's see here. There you go, brother. I bestow you with the wrench of power. Bella, what is your favorite lift or exercise? It was always bench press was my absolute. I mean, look, I've got still the pretty. I still exercise. What I usually do is I walk out in nature because I do my. That's where I go to talk to God, and that is my church, and I carry a very heavy walking stick. It's made out of hickory. Actually, the beavers made it for me, so thank you, beavers. I didn't know what kind of wood it was, but my dad's a forester, so he told me, or an ex-forester, so he told me. And that obviously leads to the guns here being always pretty worked out. But I'll go to the pool and use foam weights, or I'll go to I have some like the band weights, like I can do, I don't know if you guys, why can't I think of the name of it? Yeah, the bands, like, the rubber things that you have two handles on them. I'm probably saying the wrong word. I don't know why. It's late. I'm sorry about that. I can't think of some things. Have you tried any SARMs or steroids? No, I never, ever. In fact, I never needed to. I was always built like a tank. My problem was always losing weight, and that's well, it'll probably always be my problem. In fact, I used to use like ephedrine products because that was actually legal back in the early 2000s, and then that just started giving me splitting headaches, so I stopped. But yeah, I dropped twice in my life. I lost over 100 pounds. So I would just sometimes it would be almost like a challenge to me. I'd bulk up like a bodybuilder, like bulk up and then just cut weight down just to be ripped, and then I would bulk back up again, and I just kept doing. But then when I got my career job, and I was still working out and everything, but I couldn't work out the way I used to, not even close, because I was working sometimes 12 to 16-hour days. It was crazy. Sometimes even longer than that. I was on call, and the longest shift I ever worked was like 32 hours, I believe. I was hallucinating. I was so tired. But yeah, I mean, it was always just a fun thing for me. I was always really into exercise and really into all that stuff. But I've noticed my muscles are just as big now that I've been disabled, and I'm doing natural things and not lifting these heavy weights. And yeah, I don't know if it's just muscle memory, and I don't know what it is. I have naturally high testosterone, I believe, but let's see. Have you ever? Oh yeah, I just read that one. Aspen, like button's looking pretty nice right about now. I appreciate that, buddy. I appreciate that. I thank you all for coming in here and always reminding me. Yeah, please hit the like button, subscribe if you like what you see. Um, People will tell me, even my daughter, my young daughter, because she's tried to do like a little thing where she's playing with her dolls on YouTube, and it's really cool because my older daughter will edit the videos for her and everything. And she's like, "Don't you tell people to like and subscribe?" I tell people to like and subscribe, and I was like, I just I feel like if they like it, they'll hit the like button. I know a lot of times I'll forget when I'm watching something, but and then if you really like my videos, then hopefully you'll subscribe. But I always feel like I don't want to ask anybody because I always told myself that I don't want to ever ask for money and I don't want to ask for people to follow me. I just, if they like me, they will do it. And if they have money and think they should donate to me, that's great. But I still recommend that you donate to families in need or helping people still trapped in Western North Carolina and Tennessee and places like that. There's so many great causes, and even though I am just above the poverty line, God has provided for me, and it's been amazing. And so I don't really like it when other Christians are always begging for money or begging for likes and subscriptions. So I just I guess asking for likes and subscriptions is not like asking for money. So I guess I could do that more, but I just want to be here to help people. I just want to talk to people. That's all I concern myself with. Teshuva, end times, brother. You pursuing the digital evangelism and speaking in the spirit is just so amazing. Praise Yeshua of Nazareth. You are always such an inspiration. Keep fighting the good fight. I really appreciate that, brother. I really do, because I, as I say over and over, and I know you heard me say it earlier probably, I really, it is not me. I was not a smart man. I was not a wise man. I made so many bad decisions and I just collapsed under the weight of my own stupidity and poor choices. Now, obviously, it wasn't my actions that led to me being disabled, and even though I guess some of it came from exercise and the wallet my thing, but it's just something that happens that you can't expect. And I'm telling you, when I was saved by God, I had wisdom that I never learned. Like it just, the first couple months, there was a bunch there initially, and within the first couple months, my head actually was hurting, but I felt so amazing. It was like all these uploads coming into my brain, and it was just incredible, just incredible. I can never, that can't be used in an argument against like an atheist or something for why Jesus Christ or why God, because you can't prove it. You can't prove it. But the people who knew me and knew me before and after, they're just like, wow, this is incredible. Even my wife, who would have never accepted me, I heard God, she could tell right away when I came in something was different about me. And I've actually been able to help guide her in her, road to Jesus Christ too. Although I found that another sister in Christ is much better because she knew the old me and she knows the old me. But every single person who's known me before and after is just astounded by the complete transformation. Oh, thank you. My face is lovely. I appreciate that. You might want to get your eyes checked, though. I'm just saying. I know mine are bad too. My eyes are bad too. uh, hi. Hi, everyone. Um, time is the king of the world. Time always wins. Time is an enemy for sure. And death is the greatest enemy that Jesus Christ overcome for us. Um, blood is life. God created Adam and Eve. Yes, I'm, and obviously there's so many people who are. I love listening to all the different explanations that and all the different not explanations but interpretations of different parts of the Bible, especially Genesis. And it is cool to see that Adam in Hebrew, the original Hebrew, means mankind. So I don't know whether that changes the fact that Adam was not one man, or he was the early man, the early chosen man. It could be all kinds of different things, but I choose to I choose to keep wrestling with the different ideas and letting people try to sway me or reading about different opinions on it, because I don't think that the fact that maybe something like the book of Genesis was literal or metaphorical, I don't think that changes anything. It is the wisdom. And Jesus Christ clearly laid out that the things born of the flesh are of the flesh, the things born of the spirit are of the spirit, which means it doesn't matter whether it's literal or metaphorical when the wisdom is what matters. The spiritual is something that we can't even understand, or we couldn't until Jesus Christ came and started to explain it to us. And you learn more and more about it as you read the Bible and try to dive in and wrestle with God, just as Jacob did in the book of Genesis, wrestling with God. Such amazing wisdom, and everybody's it's just stupid stories, and some of them don't even make sense. One guy gets swallowed by a fish or a whale, and but it's completely, you have to factor in so much. You have to factor in context, genre, theme. You have to look at the time period and different elements of what people were dealing with and who they were dealing with and all of these things. And it just becomes so much more clear the more you dive into it. Aspen exactly lion something had formed the laws of the universe. Yeah, every law needs a lawmaker, right? What laws exist without a lawmaker? And intelligent life that complex, there is no way that it just magically happens. It's just no way. And if somebody can explain to me how there could be a way that lightning strikes a, what was it, the what do they call that first one, the puddle that everything came out of, the oh man, this is the second thing I haven't been able to remember. The thing, the primordial soup. So the lightning strikes this puddle of primordials, makes this primordial soup that all of a sudden just has this complex life, super complex life, not just complex. Because you can look at quotes from software programmers who look at the coding in DNA and they are astounded at how complex it is. And they are really inspired and mystified by it. And it's actually led some to become believers in God, not necessarily a certain religion, but believers in an intelligent creator, at least, to become theists. That's the funniest and most logical reason of a God, that there simply is something. We simply are here. Yeah. Out of nothing. Exactly, Aspen. You cannot just, where, if the Big Bang was the beginning of everything, which I agree, in the beginning there was light, then it explains the Big Bang perfectly. And if that was the beginning, where did the matter and energy come from? If it was just natural, where did it come from? Because as you remember, energy cannot be created nor destroyed. It can only be changed. So all the energy in, again, there's more stars in the sky than there are grains of sand on the beaches, all the beaches in the world. So you have trillions of stars, and you have all of that energy in one tiny little, however big it was. I don't even know how big they say it was. And it just exploded and created these trillions of stars and all this complex life and just crazy things that are in our universe that we don't even know about half of them. The Bible, Blood is Life. The Bible is more scientific than science books. I truly believe that. It explains it pretty well, though, doesn't it? I mean, the Big Bang coming from "Let there be light," and I believe it was Isaiah that described the world as a globe when everybody thought it was flat. The Earth was flat still, what was it? Thousands of years after that, I believe. And you have all these things, and atheists are like, it's anti-science. Name one thing in the Bible that's anti-science. But first of all, the question of God in general is not a scientific question. Now, there is scientific evidence that builds to an overwhelming case that there is a God, but when you're thinking of God, it is a philosophical question. When I want to learn about science, I open up a science textbook. When I want to learn about the meaning of life, the why are we here? What are we doing? What's my purpose in life? All of these questions science will never even touch, can never even touch. I open up the Bible because it is the absolute best source of wisdom by far. Teshuva, amen. Aspen, yes, if one knows how to read it, I don't know a lot, but I know that it's written in symbolic ways as well. Yeah, Carl Jung is a good source for understanding symbology. Yes, Carl Jung, I used to watch a lot of Carl Jung when I was first saved too, and Alan Watts and a lot of newer philosophers and psychologists and things like that. And I like Carl Jung's I like his explanation of synchronicity. How synchronicity is, I don't even know if he was he a believer in God? Was he a theist or not, or a deist even? I'm not sure, but he says that all the synchronization in life, all these patterns, all these supposed coincidences, like we might be thinking of a friend we haven't talked to in a decade, and all of a sudden they call on the phone, we run into them on the street, and we see all these repeating numbers over and over, and they mean something special in our lives, and things like this. I do believe that God talks to us like that. I do believe, but he at least said that it was the universe's way of speaking to us. So I'm not sure if he actually believed it was God speaking to us, but if he's thinking the universe is speaking to us, I'm pretty sure he meant it was God, because I don't know how you could think the universe, if it's just matter and energy, how it would speak to you. But I don't really remember his theories on that. Time is king, can't be beat. Yep, that's true. It's batting 1,000 for sure. Well, not quite 1,000, but statistically 1,000, I guess. Hey, brother, glad you're streaming. Oh, Nathaniel, great to see you again. You're out of work, I'm hoping, by now. It's great to see you always, brother. Bella Angelo, what is the best way to learn about Jesus and his teachings? Read the whole Bible or watch Cliff videos or go to church? Okay, so assuming that you're brand new and you don't know anything about anything when it comes to Jesus, or maybe just very, very little, I didn't go straight to the Bible because I didn't go straight to Christianity. I went straight to the source. I went straight to God. And I think when you genuinely are ready to surrender your life to him. So I went out and I just asked God to please show me a sign, please show me some direction. And I didn't think it was going to happen, but I was at such a low point in life. And not even 10 minutes later, I'm so sorry for repeating this over and over to all of you who've heard it almost every time, every live stream almost, I have to say it. But not even 10 minutes after praying for the first time in 20 some years and saying I would surrender my life if he just showed me a way out of this hell I was in, a white-tailed doe comes running out of the woods to the lake shore I was walking along. And she came over to me and let me pet her. And she came down. There was a little cliff ledge because it had been a drought at the time. She worked her way down the cliff. There was a little ledge, and she walked alongside of me for over an hour. And that from that point on, everything changed to me. You see, I couldn't even understand the Bible, Bella, before I was saved by God. I would read it and it would make no sense to me. Like the words, I could understand them, but together, it was like my mind either had ADHD, which didn't make sense because I could read. I read all the time. I read a book, at least one book every month. I would go from a nonfiction to a fiction book every alternate months for decades. And but the Bible just wasn't sinking in for some reason, and I don't know why, except for God didn't want me to read it yet because he was waiting until I was saved. That's the only explanation I have. And it just all of a sudden opened up to me. And when I finally was led back to Christ, because it was still a couple, close to a year before I was led back to Christ completely, after I was saved. So I went out there. I started to learn how God talked to me. And then I learned, because I did surrender my life. I told him I would, and I did surrender my life. And I started to observe all the different ways that God was talking to me, because it was clear all the times that God was talking to me earlier in my life just were like all these visions of my younger days were just coming to me like crazy, like things I didn't even remember. And I was like, oh, well, God was in this situation. God was right there with me in this situation. And it was just the most incredible thing over and over again. I mean, pure euphoria, even during the tragedies, because it was only about a month and a half before my mother-in-law passed away after I was saved. And through that whole thing, if I had not been saved, my marriage might have been over, because my wife and I were miserable. We were so worried about bills all the time. I had no purpose. I didn't love myself. I tried to be a good father to my children, but I knew that I couldn't be because I was just so miserable. So I felt guilty about that. Everything was going wrong until God saved me. And then everything fell into place. So I went from that to just completely letting God guide me. And he didn't guide me from Genesis to Revelation, from the beginning to the end of the Bible. What he did was I started being called to these different scriptures, and I was doing studies and reading articles and things, and I would see a Bible verse and I would go read part of that verse, and then I would read the whole chapter, and then I said, well, I'm just going to go ahead and read all the Gospels. And I read the Gospels and all the New Testament. And then I went back and read the Old Testament. And then I saw how it was just so linked. Like everything was a foreshadowing to Jesus Christ in the Old Testament.
And I'm telling you, as lame as it sounds, all I wanted to do was just to talk to God and nature and then read the Bible and then talk to other people, do these videos and stuff, and talk to my family and strangers and friends. And that is all my purpose. And it was all the fulfillment I ever needed in life, because all the things I used to like to do and that used to be my hobbies or my escape in life, or just something to, take my mind off of my misery, those things, I was I was like, it's still a process. It's always going to be a process, but they just all of a sudden were not interesting to me anymore. And only the Bible and only Jesus and only God was really interesting to me, and how it related to my life and to the world. Um, so I would, if you're going to just dive in before you have try to go out and have that personal relationship, I would start with the Gospel of John, and I would, if it's not making sense to you, try to maybe go to, I know that they've filmed all the gospels, and they have commentary through the whole thing, and they act it out. So they have somebody reading the Bible, and everybody acting it out throughout the whole thing. And I would go there and just look up, Gospel of John movie, Gospel of Luke movie, Gospel of Matthew movie, and you can watch exactly, it will read it to you, and it will show you what's going on, and that might help you understand it a little bit better. And there's so many ways of just easing your way into it until it starts to click, and then it'll be like learning a new language. At first, learning a new language is horribly hard because it's foreign to you, and then you start learning more and more, and then it comes together, and soon you're speaking it fluently if you're spending enough time on it. I hope that helps some, but I have been trying to get into that more because I got asked that question another night, and I think it's really important. So I'm gonna try to think more about it too, because I don't know if my answer is not good enough. I definitely need to know for sure. Uh, Time is king. Time, no one can beat time. Time is king of the world. Absolutely, yeah, yep. Well, the only one who can beat it is Jesus Christ. Um, oh, Foe, you're back. How you doing, brother? Hey, big dog, glad to see you. My whole family are addicts. I've been sober for months and have zero desire to use. That is amazing, brother. That is amazing. Because I know how, when you're surrounded by family or even friends that are just immersed in alcohol and drugs, it's so tempting all the time. And once you, again, you go to AA, and what do they tell you to do? They tell you you must have a higher power, because you cannot just believe in yourself. That is, yourself is what let you down in the first place. You have to believe in a higher power. But see, I guess because they're trying to appeal to everyone, they won't say, "Oh, you need to look for Jesus Christ because he is the best evidence of a higher power, the best example of a moral foundation that is just perfect." And you can say, "Oh, well, this religion might be better, this philosophy might be better." Somebody, I can't remember his name, but a Harvard professor said that all morality in the last 2,000 years is a footnote to the Sermon on the Mount made by Jesus Christ. Every single major religion, except possibly Judaism, has high regards for Jesus Christ, or some of them actually even have examples of them worshiping Jesus Christ as a minor god, like the Hindus. I think it's Isu or something like that is Jesus's name in Hindu, and they worship him as one of their pantheon of the gods. So they include him in that. So Jesus is by far the most reliable figure of of all time. of all time. You can't find any figure who has changed the world the way Jesus Christ, a poor carpenter from Nazareth, somewhere in the middle of nowhere in Palestine. Nobody has changed the world more than him. Incline bench or flat? I always did flat. Am I really that far behind? Am I? I'm so sorry. I'm going so slow tonight. I try to expand on the points to everybody, and I'm so sorry I get so far behind, and you guys are probably like, oh, you're not answering my questions, or I promise you, I'm trying to get to them as quick as I can. Resistance bands. That's right, foe, for sure. Message greater than messenger. Journey greater than destination. God, yes, absolutely, Zaya. It is great to see you. Thank you for coming. The journey is always greater than the destination, but with Christianity, it's the old line that, oh, Christianity's so dumb because you got to give up all the fun stuff in your life and live this buttoned up life, and all for the hopes of some eternal reward, and you get nothing now. And I'm just like, no, that's not it at all. You get the Holy Spirit within you, which gives you a piece of heaven while you are alive. I've had the Holy Spirit working through me, and I can tell you, it is everything to me. He is everything to me. The Holy Spirit is the greatest gift we have ever gotten. It is our eternal reward while we are still alive. And it gives you as I said, that wisdom I never learned. It gives you all the love and peace of Jesus Christ. And it only gives you what you allow him to give you. Now, if you're going to allow him to to lead you completely, to surrender completely, which is very, very hard to do. Very hard. I'm trying, but I'm not even close. I've seen maybe the best examples I've seen are people I don't know much about their private lives except for maybe Mr. Rogers and Bob Ross, of all people. It's weird examples, isn't it? Mr. Rogers seems like the most devout, born again Christian I've ever seen. And I don't know much about his younger days or anything, but he devoted his life to God. And look at the impact he had on kids. I know younger people don't understand that, but older people know. He was everywhere. He was great in everybody's childhood back in the day. Imagine worshiping a zombie rabbi. Okay, Toaster Poodle. Imagine that. Imagine having no clue what Christianity is and just laughing about it. Something or someone manufactured us. That's right. It's almost guaranteed. I mean, I don't know how. I guess anything is possible. You have to be open to the idea that anything is possible. So if somehow we find evidence that we're in a simulation or something, and everything's just nothing like we thought it was, I guess. You don't know what's going on, but that would have to lead you, I guess, away from the faith of Christ. But still, even if we were in a simulation, the transformational power would be too big for me to deny. I would still be believing in Christ. Jack Mack, do you believe in God? Yes, I do, Jack. Jesus Christ let us know all about the unknown, unseen God. I am a science student I don't believe in, but I want to believe in God, so what can I do? Well, you have to look at, first of all, I know a lot of scientists like to think that it is just laughable, especially in today's, if you're still, you're still a student. So in today's universities and colleges, the idea of Christianity or religion in general is mocked. But go look at the fathers of every scientific idea, every type of science. Go look at the fathers of them and see they're almost all Christian. And you have to understand, as I said earlier, when you're thinking about the idea of God, first of all, you have no evidence at all. Even the leading atheist debater, Richard Dawkins, ceded the point that there is no proof or no example of a mutation or any kind of transformation in a genome that gives it information that let me try to find this. I'm sorry about that. Let me try to find this quote because I don't want to get this wrong. Okay, they asked Richard Dawkins, "Can you give one example of a genetic mutation or evolutionary process that can be seen to increase the information in the genome?" And he got mad and he stormed out the first time he was asked that. The second time he kind of mishmashed around it and just dismissed the point. And then he actually got to the point where he thought about it for so long, I guess, and it was so, I guess, such a weird question to him, and it's such a hard question for him to answer. Let's see if I can find the thing he had with Ben Stein. He was having a discussion with Ben Stein. So Ben Stein asked Richard Dawkins, "How did it get created?" And he was talking about life. And Dawkins said, "By a very slow process." And he said, and Ben Stein, "How did it start?" Dawkins, "Nobody knows how it got started. We know the kind of event it must have been. We know the sort of event that it must have happened for the origin of life." Ben, "What was that?" Dawkins, "It was the origin of the first self-replicating molecule." Ben Stein, "Right. And how did that happen?" Dawkins, "I told you, we don't know." And so later, Stein, "What do you think of the possibility that intelligent design might turn out to be the answer to some issues in genetics or in Darwinian evolution?" Dawkins, "Well, it could come about in the following way. It could be that some earlier time, somewhere in the universe, a civilization evolved, probably some kind of Darwinian means, probably to a very high level of technology, and designed a form of life that they seeded onto perhaps this planet. Now that's a possibility and an intriguing possibility, and I suppose it's possible that you might find evidence that if you look at the details of biochemistry, molecular biology, you might find a signature of some sort of designer." So there is the leading atheist ceding the point, not that there's a God, but that we have an intelligent designer that seeded our planet. So panspermia, I guess, is what they call it. And it's just, how do you get something from nothing? How do you do this? And you have to start there. Do you think there's more evidence that life, complex life, or even the simplest life, which is very complex in itself, and wait, did this? Hold on. Oh, sorry about that. It zoomed in on my head's already big enough anyway. I didn't need it zoomed in like that. So you have to go through the evidence of, is there a God, and what is the evidence? And I think that modern DNA, all the studies of modern DNA and all the newer things that we're learning about it is making it pretty clear that, yeah, okay, the evolutionary process doesn't mean anything as far as the creation of God. It is the creation of life, not the evolutionary process of life. So you got to look at that. You got to look at the fine tuning of the universe and how everything lined up perfectly in the entire universe for us to exist in this tiny little sliver, this tiny little Goldilocks zone, which is such a tiny little space in certain parts of the universe. And I know that they're saying it could be 1 in 5 stars that have this Goldilocks zone, but again, that's just speculation. We only are going by the evidence we have. And even if it was, that wouldn't change the fact that there is a God. So you have to start there, I think. But I certainly think that there are a lot more arguments for and against, but I'm not hearing any convincing arguments against, except for we cannot feel or sense God or comprehend him because he is outside of space and time. But then again, don't you need a being outside of space and time to create space and time? Where did the first matter and energy come from? All of the energy and all of the matter in the entire universe was condensed into one little dot to where it exploded, and now there's trillions of stars created from that. You got to go through all these things and say, what is the best evidence? And then the watchmaker argument too, and I'm so sorry I'm going to get behind on some of these questions again. The watchmaker argument, you're walking along, let's say an alien planet, and you come across a watch. Do you think it didn't have a creator? When have you ever found something that is at least even semi-complex that carried any kind of information, especially that did not have a creator? Or you said, no, this watch just appeared here. Maybe a bolt of lightning hit a primordial soup full of all kinds of elements and proteins and things, and it created this watch. What makes more sense? I don't know if that's a good explanation or not, but Yusuf, how you doing? I pray something will show you God is real. Yeah, it really is the personal revelations too, and that is what all atheists seem to dismiss. The personal revelations that people have, like mine. My life was completely transformed within minutes. Within minutes. I went from the lowest in my life, the lowest point in my life, walking into the woods. And when I walked out of the woods, I was never more peaceful, more loving, I felt like the wealthiest man alive, even though I just live above the poverty line. Everything was finally, my life made sense when I thought I had purpose before my disability, but I didn't even come close to knowing what true purpose and meaning in life was until I found God. And I didn't have a clue what love was. Love, true love, the love of God transcends everything, every sort of emotion that we feel. It is so much higher than that. I have love for strangers I've never met before, like they're my best friends of decades. It's crazy. It really is. Zaya, synchronicity is also known, aka divine intervention. Yes, absolutely. Blood of life, synchronicity gives me chills. It does me too. It's really one of the things that I noticed God speaking to me very early on in my salvation, and the synchronicity was something I was obsessed with. In fact, I was so obsessed with it, I started going and again, it harkened back to my earlier days when I was in college. I used to, I wrote a paper on syncing Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon to The Wizard of Oz, and seeing how it sunk up, and Pink Floyd saying, we didn't do that on purpose. Whether they did or not, I don't know, but it seems like studying it, they didn't. But it syncs up perfectly, and you can play it 2.5 times through. And I was always fascinated with it, and I started noticing it in my regular life, and and how everything was lining up, and it was God guiding me this entire time. Tarin, how you doing? Hey, how you doing, brother? I'm doing great. Fo, how how do you feel about Jesus going to India to learn his abilities? Um, I thought it was actually Asia, wasn't it? Oh yeah, it might have been India because it was the Hindus who claimed that. If he learned how to be who he was, shouldn't I look into Indian religions? Um, I don't think there's any real evidence of that, but he absolutely went, and apparently he traveled all of these places. But if you're thinking that you should look at the Indian religions, I think you absolutely should. But the fact that he went to the Hindus, I believe it was, I'm pretty sure it was the Hindus, and he was teaching them, I think, and they commemorate that and everything in this one town, I believe, in this one area, that this is where Jesus came in, and he was teaching all this stuff to them when they thought they knew all this, you know, from being very devout Hindus, I guess. I mean, I don't remember as much from all of that stuff, but yeah, he was said to have traveled all over the place, but who knows, because it wasn't recorded in the Bible, so we don't have actual good evidence of that. So, but I recommend you looking into Indian religions anyway. Any religions is good to look into. See if there's truth there for sure. Not trying to be oh, no, not at all, folks. I think that anything that looks interesting to you, try to find the truth in it. Try to go and see, is there truth in this? I had to go through every single one myself. And if you're a person who has to take on something on your own to get your hands dirty and figure stuff out like I am, then it's always a good idea to follow wherever God leads you, for sure. It's not necessarily meaning he's leading you to those Indian religions. It means he wants you to go and learn something from the process of studying it. But, or maybe he is leading it to you. I don't know. I mean, I never claim to know how God works. His plans are so far beyond me. I just follow him. And for me, the only truth I found was in Jesus Christ. And so I follow his teachings and I follow him because it is the only religion where God, the creator of everything, came down to make himself known through being a humbled, suffering servant king. I shouldn't say king. Humbling, suffering servant instead of a conquering king. I mean, Zaya, interesting documentary, Light Rainbow Studios, and also covers Shroud of Turin. Shroud of Turin's an amazing. Is that a recent thing for the new information on the Shroud of Turin, Zaya? Kiki Bakes, how you doing? Beautiful to watch. Oh, well, thank you. Let's see. Fo, I just believed in myself and got clean on my own, and nobody liked it. Hey, there. If that's what's working for you, that is great, brother. But I just caution you that when you are doing something like and relying on yourself, you will always let or relying on anything finite for that matter, anything besides God, you will let yourself down. If you're relying on somebody to mentor you, then they will let you down. It's inevitable. Given long enough time, you might get lucky and it might last you for decades even, and maybe till late in your life. But at some point, you're going to hit some sort of tragedy or some sort of struggle and suffering where you just collapse and you have nothing to lean on because you've just been relying on yourself, and And it is, I'm telling you, the only universal constant in life is Jesus Christ. The only true north in life is Jesus Christ. It is the only thing you can rely on. When everything else falls apart, He will be there, and He is always there waiting with open arms, no matter how many times we walk away from Him, how many times we go astray, how many times we mess up. Blood is like in Islam, Jesus is mentioned as a prophet of God. He's messenger. Yeah, absolutely. But they again deny so many times when Jesus says he is God in the Gospels. So Muhammad, I talk about this quite a bit too. Muhammad says that the Gospels and the Bible are God-breathed words. They're absolutely holy words. And yet he goes against Scripture and Gospels all the time, just completely, because he just made up his own thing. So either way, if Christ was a prophet, then you're contradicting not only Christianity, but you're contradicting Islam, because he said it was a God-breathed word. If he wasn't a prophet, then you're confirming, or if he was God, then you're confirming Christianity, but still contradicting Islam. So either way, Islam contradicts itself. It's 10:30 when you go to sleep. It's almost 2 a.m. here, brother. Yeah, I've got to be going pretty soon. You know how I know when I've got to get going? Is when my nose starts clogging up. You guys can probably hear it, but my nose, when I talk too long, I've had this lingering cold or allergies because of the change in weather, and it's just always getting me. But I'm going to try to. Oh, I'm already towards the end of the things here. I thought I was way far behind. Okay, simulation would explain why our souls maybe leave our bodies, and why we have to be put of body maybe out put why we have out of body experiences, maybe. Okay, that makes more sense. Yeah, well, a simulation would explain just about anything, because anything's possible, right? Anything is literally possible. You can make a case for anything, and it could be possible in some crazy twist of reality, or like I said, it's a simulation, so you can write the code however you want, I guess. Anything is possible. We have to be open to that fact, but that does not mean we have to believe in everything, because we literally never know what to believe in, because anything is possible. So everything is basically impossible then. So what I think we have to do, going back to asking about God, we have to look at the evidence. What does the evidence that we have point to the most? I think it overwhelmingly points to there is an intelligent creator, and I think that the overwhelming evidence points to Jesus Christ. In fact, there is so much evidence pointing to Jesus Christ was legit. There is no figure that is more trustworthy than Jesus Christ. I challenge you to find any figure in not only physical history, but in fictional history too. Go find a fictional book where there's a figure that is more trustworthy than Jesus Christ. Now, there are figures that are based on Jesus Christ and based on biblical things, but they don't even come close to Jesus Christ. It is absolutely astounding that people think that it's a made-up religion, it's a made-up hoax, because it would be a miracle in itself if it was even made up, because you would have to have the perfect story. And again, if it was made up, they would have tried to put things in there to make it more obvious that the things that were, not obvious in the Bible, like Jesus coming out and saying he is God, and stating everything clearly. If they're trying to make this hoax up to where we're all got to buy into it and everything, I mean, they would not make it to where you have a poor man, a poor carpenter, going to the poor and the weak and the oppressed. Why would they do that? If it was the powers that be that were making this, they would literally be making, oh, he came to royalty, so you better worship royalty, because if you don't, you're going against Jesus, and some way leading us to that, some way leading us to be more obedient to them and more submissive to them. And I understand that in a lot of ways we are told to be submissive and to be peaceful, but we are not supposed to back down from protesting peacefully. We are not supposed to back down from defending ourselves, even with violence. We are not supposed to back down from protecting the innocent, even with violence. In fact, that is the greatest act of love, according to Jesus Christ. So there's all these things that just don't make sense at all about it being a created story. And as I say over and over, if it is a conspiracy, it's a conspiracy that would have spanned not just decades, not just centuries, but millennia. You would have to find, if you wanted to change the Bible, you would have to go and find all of the thousands, 6,700 plus original Greek manuscripts, not to mention all the Coptic, Syrian, Latin, you name it, translations, early translations. And you would have to find every single one and just go and change them and somehow make it to where you could carbon date those documents to where nobody would know that you changed it, and all of these crazy things you would have to do to somehow have this great conspiracy. So it is clear that we are learning the same gospels that they learned in the early church, in the early days after Christ's death and resurrection. But I guess you can always make the little arguments against some verses being changed, variations of some verses, and changes in different translations, but it doesn't really, because you're not taking away from the general wisdom. Of course, there's different meanings of different words in different languages. There always is. But that does not change the overall meaning. And you can go back and read the original Greek, the originals. You can go on your computer and search original Greek, Matthew 1:18, original Greek translation, and it'll give you every single word in the original Greek translation and what that Greek translation means. So, let's see here. God created the simulation. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It is almost like it is a simulation. God does have us here in a type of simulation, I guess. So I guess you could say that is a simulation. Albert Einstein wasn't religious. Einstein wrote that he had gradually lost his faith early in childhood. But name I can't pronounce, which I hoped. Can you just tell me something to go by so I can use it? And hopefully I'll remember it next time. Albert Einstein tried to fudge the fact that he didn't want there to be a beginning of the universe. He didn't want there to be he wanted to fudge the fact that the Earth or the universe was expanding and at a certain rate and speed, to which eventually led to the theory of the Big Bang, which it seems to be the agreed upon beginning of the universe. And he didn't want there to be a beginning of the universe at all because he didn't believe in God. And a lot of his scientist friends came to him and said, "Hey, Albert, it's really not cool what you're doing. You're changing all these things, and we can all see what you're doing. And I think that we can see." And he finally just had to throw his hands up and say, "You're right." And he became a theist. He became a theist. At the end of his life, he did. Look it up. Albert Einstein became a theist. And he wasn't completely against the idea of God before that, but he was a pantheonist or something. It was something weird, but it wasn't an atheist. And again, almost every single early church father, or not early scientific father, of every single scientific, you have the different branches of science, which I am not well versed in, I'll admit, for sure. I know the very basics of science, and I learn it more about the study of God, and I've learned more about science in the past couple of years than I did all my time in college, for sure. But all of these early scientific fathers, the original scientific fathers, were Christians. It's not like it's anti-science. It is absolutely compatible with science. Go look at the teachings of Dr. John Lennox. He's a brilliant scientist and theologian too, and he went to Oxford and I believe some other great school, and he is out there giving talks all the time about how Jesus Christ, there is all kinds of evidence for Jesus Christ and for God himself. In Brazil, Danilo, how you doing? In Brazil, poorly spoken of your is Brazil poorly spoken of in your country? I had a great friend for about 5 years, and unfortunately he moved away. But he was from Brazil, and I used to love that guy. But I think that it depends on who you talk to. He said that he fled it, and at the time it was in a lot of distress because Brazil was just out of control at the time, and they had to get out of there because I guess it was going more and more socialist or something. So it all depends on who you speak to, but I think it's obviously a beautiful country, and I would love to go down there and visit. But then again, you get the people, I guess, during the Olympics when they couldn't go in the water because it was so polluted and they were getting all these flesh-eating bacteria and stuff. That didn't help a lot, but the natural looking beauty is great. I just wish that they wouldn't treat their people the same way and have the class system like they do, but that's a problem everywhere. So there's problems everywhere, but I absolutely love Brazilian people for sure. One of the funniest guys I knew too, and his wife was hilarious too. I love them. John Perchman, I agree. Jesus Christ is Lord. There was an archaeologist who took blood from the Mercury seat under where Jesus was crucified, had it tested, and it was alive. Only had 24 chromosomes, as we humans have 46. Really? I hadn't heard about that. I'll have to look into that. The Mercury seat under where he was crucified. I wouldn't. Maybe I did hear about something. Are you sure it was where he was crucified, or was it like where he was kept in prison and it had? No, I think it. I don't. Maybe I don't remember that. I do remember hearing something along those lines, but I think the Shroud of Turin is something I never expected. That they thought it was. Obviously, originally they thought, okay, this is the shroud of Jesus Christ that was wrapped around him, and it had the image of a man with all the same wounds from being crucified, including the crown of thorns, the wounds on his head, and it was almost photographically imprinted blood into the sheet, which is just incredible. First of all, we can't even replicate that with modern technology. But in the 70s and 80s, they said, no, we tested it and it was only from the 1400s. So it can't be the Shroud of Jesus Christ. So everybody's like, well, got to move on from that. And then something came out, what was it, about 6 months ago or something, where no, we were wrong. We didn't do the right kind of test, and we didn't have a modern test to do it with. We tested a thread of the Shroud of Turin, and it was just almost exactly 2,000 years old. And so, I don't know. I hope it's absolutely for real, and I have a feeling that it is, but I don't let myself believe because of these things, because those are the types of things that can be proven to be a hoax or to be a lie. And then if you put too much faith in that, you're like, well, I don't know if I believe anymore in God. I don't believe in Christ anymore. Do not let yourself get into that position, because yes, it does look promising that it is. And I don't know if we ever will know for sure, but your faith should come from a personal connection, a personal revelation of Christ, knowing him, and not only personally going out and talking to him and having him speak back to you in whatever way that he does speak back to you, but also in reading the gospel where he lets himself be known completely. He lets himself and the Father be known. So to me, I rely on that, and everything else is just icing on the cake, Mysterio. Thank you. I'm glad I can make you think or make you go, I guess. Hopefully not in a bad way. Foe. I knew a maybe foreign exchange student in his, that was my buddy that was from Brazil, was a good dude. Yeah, like I said, I only knew the one couple that was from Brazil personally. I mean, I've met other people from Brazil, obviously. Just amazing. I mean, one of the coolest guys and women I ever met, for sure. Allah Akbar. All right, show. Fo, inshallah. Kiki Bex, you're so honest and sincere. Oh, I appreciate that. I have nothing to be dishonest about now. I try to, if I ever tell someone a mistruth, I apologize, and I am trying to be as sincere as possible. I really am. I am trying to let the Holy Spirit guide me, but obviously I talk for hours every day now. I usually do, not even counting. I respond to comments usually for at least 3 or 4 hours a night. And then I'll do my personal, the videos I put out on usually a daily basis, sometimes 2 videos in a day. And then I'll do these live streams when it's usually about 2 hours. And I am going to say something wrong, and I'm going to mess up multiple times. It's just going to happen. But I really do think that I am not a smart man. I never was a smart man. I was really just an average idiot. And I made a lot of bad choices. But I'm telling you, God has guided me through this whole thing, and he has a lot of times guided my thoughts and guided my tongue. And I swear to you, I would never be able to do it without him. I would never be able to do it without this kind of love and guidance in my life, because I was just so low. I was so low. And I'm telling you, I could not. There was nothing. I was trying to grasp onto anything I could to find some kind of purpose in life, some kind of hope in life. And every time I would try to grasp onto something, it was like think of like you're in the ocean and trying to grasp onto the side of a lifeboat, but it just keeps slipping. So every time I would grasp, I'd think I'd get a hold, and then nope, and just slip right back down. And God just lifted me up and comforted me because I needed comforting big time. After all I went through, I needed so much comforting, and He gave me so much. My cup was overflowing, and I didn't just feel the need, I felt the obligation to go and to spread it to other people. And now I understand why I used to make fun of the missionaries and things like that, and all the evangelicals going out, because half of them didn't know what they were talking about half the time. But now I understand why someone is really called to do this. I understand that most probably aren't going for the right reasons and don't really have that sincere connection. But man, when you find God, you don't want to do anything else except for spread that wealth, because it makes you feel like the richest person in the world. I I went from a poor broken man to the wealthiest person in the world. I feel like I'm wealthier than billionaires because I have something they only dreamed of, and something only, sadly, a few of us experience because we're so reluctant to just surrender our lives, because we're like, well, I don't really trust that, but the idea sounds good, so I'll just kind of just say I do. And it is an all in or all or nothing thing. It really has to be. If you're just going through the motions, it's fine for a while because you're learning what to do and you don't have that relationship yet. But man, when you get serious about it, everything changes. Everything. When you have a genuine heart and you are out seeking, there is nothing like it. I mean, I know some people just feel unworthy, and some people feel like there's just no way that, even if there is an intervening God, that they would ever bother with them, of all the things and all the people in the world and all the universe to look over. And I'm telling you, each and every one of us, He cares for just like His own Son, because we are His children, and He loves us more than you can understand. Okay, I'll read these last ones. I love you all. Thank you for coming by. Morally bankrupt. Read my comments. Did I miss something? Morally bankrupt. Sorry, brother. I'm scrolling back. I don't see any comments from you. If I missed something, I'm sorry. Phil Phil Lip. I like that name. Look up that Xavier Renegade Angel clip. Do you believe in God? Yeah. Didn't I write that down? Was that the one that I wrote down the other night? Was that you, Phil Lip? Again, love that name. Angel. Do you? Okay. Prophet Wiz. I'm EMS. I'm EMS rolling on an ambulance right now, and I promise you, God is with you. That, amen, brother, and thank you for doing that job, because there aren't many people who will do jobs like that, and we need more wonderful servants of Christ just like you, brother. Wonderful servants of God, just out there helping people and selflessly helping them. Amen. God bless you. Kiki, prayers for you too. Love you all so much. Unless morally bankrupt, unless you want to write what you were talking about, I really should be going, because, as I said, my nose is completely clogged now, and it is getting late, and my back is really hurting. So if you want to rewrite what you wrote, maybe. All right. Well, yeah, I guess I shouldn't wait on that because it doesn't look like you might just be trolling too. But all right, everybody, I love you so much. I will try to do another live stream as soon as I can. My kids both have off this whole week, so it's gonna be I'll probably be every other night because my daughter likes to sleep on the couch, and that's right over there, so I can't be doing the live stream when she's sleeping there. But if I don't talk to you before then, if you don't make one of my streams before then, hope you guys have a wonderful Thanksgiving if you celebrate it. And I hope to see you soon. Love you all.